big warm welcome, Mara, today. I'm really excited to meet with you and talk to you about artificial intelligence and project-based learning. I was so inspired when I attended your session at the Festival of Education at Wellington College, and just hearing the work that you've been doing with your teachers to help them learn about how they can use AI. And I suppose we're looking at how we can support both our educators and our young people to sort of understand how AI might be able to help them with their projects and increase their impact, but also make sure that they're understanding, what the potential challenges are, what the pitfalls are, and with these new tools that we are making sure that we're using them in an ethical way. So I think today should be a really interesting conversation. And I think you're sort of uniquely placed in the position that you've seen your daughter participate in Global Social Leaders, and seeing the impact the programs have on her, and now you're, with your educator experience, supporting teachers to kind of embrace. I know you're a massive advocate for real world projects and getting young people involved in projects and helping educators learn how they can thrive and support their young people too. So I'd just like to first off just invite you maybe to introduce yourself, say a little bit about your background, and then we'll get into some meaty questions that we've got prepared for you about how you're using AI and how we can support educators to do that. So Mara, do you want to just say a little bit about yourself and your background? Mara.
Certainly. Thank you, Jonathan. It's really great to be here with you. And as you said, I'm a huge advocate for global social leaders, and from both the parent and educator perspective, really believe in what you do. And I think AI could be an amazing enhancement to what students will be bringing forward this year and in the future. My own educational experience, I've been a teacher, school founder, school principal, school governor, now trustee for over 25 years in the education systems in the UK and in the US, mostly in the US. And I have taught project-based learning since forever. So I believe that this is the way to make impact on student learning. So yeah, let's get started.
Brilliant, fantastic. Thank you, Mara. So my first big question, and I suppose you told us a little bit about it in the webinar that we attended, but love you to share with everyone today, is can you describe how you have integrated AI into your work, and how you're supporting other teachers and educators to do so?
Right. So my current work is I'm working with a school in helping it grow globally and launching and transforming it into a project-based learning program. And so I've been spending a lot of time working with the teachers and helping them think differently about their own practice. And when ChatGPT came out, it was a bit of a play. There was nothing like we really were considering how it could get used, or we really just played with it. So at one point I took a teacher's feedback to a student, put it into the system, and then put the student's assignment into the system and asked it for additional feedback, and then shared it back with the teacher. And she was like, oh boy, there's so much more I could have provided for feedback. So we started identifying, okay, where are some holes that the system can actually help improve? With students, I've actually observed my daughter on her own using the system to study for tests, where she'll ask the AI to produce review questions to revise. And then when she got the questions wrong, then it gave her feedback on how to think about things differently. And that was her initiating the use of it. And then with teachers, we've also had them play with developing lesson plans and projects with it, setting some criteria and setting a scenario and helping it create what those next term's projects can look like. So it's a play. I would say we're all at a play stage. And it's important to keep that in mind.
I like that, Mara. I think that concept of play and pilot, I think, are the two things I'm hearing from a lot of the experts that are supporting schools to kind of embrace AI, is almost how you, within a guidelines and safe space, encourage your teachers to actually have a go. Obviously make sure everything doesn't have any sort of data sharing or whatnot in there, but actually having a play and seeing what it shares back to you can be quite exciting. And I've experienced it with my son, where we've creatively played to create storybooks together, and seeing how that's shocked and excited and inspired him, and inspired new ideas for me for how to come up with new stories has been has been fantastic. I mean, we're always interested in outcomes. I'm just wondering, is there a particular successful outcome that you've seen from using AI so far?
Yeah, so I think in the study practice, that was one. So helping students use the system to study for their exams. Last term, when they were studying for their advanced placement exams, a lot of students did go on and, have it, question and quiz. And what's nice is it's very personalized, and it will come to the level that the student is at as compared to a generic question bank. So students feel a bit of a connection. The other is I worked with a student on a breakthrough challenge for Khan Academy's competition. And we used AI to help frame she did her research on her topic. So AI helped her with that, with references. So she got articles and she was able to read the articles that it was referring to. But then she also used it as a counterpoint for how to tell the story. It's a 2-minute video that she had to create. So she created a few descriptors of what the storyline might be. Asked AI, what do you think? Is this, am I going to be able to get my point across? And AI was able to produce back feedback to help her shape her storyline for that video. So those were a couple successes that we've had. And then student writing has improved dramatically, not because they're taking what AI has produced, but instead they have taken what AI has produced and made it better. So it's an iterative process, and that's something we work with our students. You can get feedback from the AI on your initial draft, and then you need to take its suggestions and then put it back into the system, get additional feedback, and then add more suggestions. So students are more willing to go through that revision practice because they're getting immediate feedback and suggestions that they like. So those have been 3 successes, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm hearing, like this individualization that can happen, and also this feedback loop that you can rapidly do in a way that just isn't possible. And I think, we've always, with global social leaders, sort of prided ourselves in the feedback that we give young people on their projects. And we've seen the value that when a young person has uploaded their project, got feedback from us, and then use that feedback to develop their project, the projects that they do just end up being much more high quality. So finding a way to support young people to access feedback and to learn from it and then implement that is I think is really exciting. And I too, I think I've been sort of really, I suppose, surprised and blown away by when we've tested it and uploaded ideas and then asked for feedback and then received it, that actually a lot of the feedback has been really insightful and helpful for developing and deepening. So I suppose I want to move on to kind of looking at, like, AI in the space of social action projects and project-based learning, and sort of and I suppose thinking forward, because this is all still quite new, but how do you think AI can or is supporting young people to implement social action projects. And I suppose it's for all of us to start thinking big about what the possibilities are, what that looks like in the future. So we'd love to hear how you think it might help them with their projects, especially those that are working towards addressing the global goals.
Absolutely. So I think it becomes like a coach in many ways. And I think that for those engaging in these projects, if we can offer the student groups just like 2 or 3 steps at which point they should be engaging or might consider engaging the use of AI. Their initial brainstorm of looking at their local community's challenges is not looking at AI. They need to look at their local communities, for example. But then once they have their topic or their interest, then they can work with AI to perhaps brainstorm ideas, just like they would have Googled it in, old version. And now they could, look forward to the AI to say, well, this is a project I'm thinking about. Where in the world has other people done it? So they could look at examples of other projects that are similar. B, they can then get information from AI to help predict what might the impact be if they do the project fully, and then how they can improve that impact by making small changes. So it becomes this immediate coach that has all the knowledge of up to 2021 and then some that it can tap into. And so now you have this knowledge coach, you have your mentor, which is your real person, your adult that's there to support you, and then you have your team. And so I think that the results will be that projects might be even more deeply considered and yield much higher levels of impact on improving the local community conditions that they set out to improve. So I think there's different stages at which they go through the project that they can tap into the system and then be able to improve the deeper level. So I'm just thinking about my daughter's project 3 years ago or 2 years ago. And she was working on creating a recycling brick of plastics, and they had a specific methodology that they wanted to try and so forth. And had she had AI at that time, I mean, she was only 11 or 10, so it might be a little young, but she could have learned more about what was happening around the globe at a much more accessible way than the Google searches that she and her partners did. So yeah, I think that it becomes then that data source, data rich tool and coach to serve.
Yeah, fantastic. And I think there's 2 things depending on the age, I suppose, as well, where even the teachers can be using it to help them sort of take ideas or suggestions to young people and sort of co-create with AI, helping them draw in some expertise to support the young person. I've been really interested. I attended a conference hosted by Pottersmore School, and Darren Coxon was running some sessions, and he almost said, we can do the boring work, as he described it, the operational work, and things like creating surveys. It was fascinating to see how well it put together surveys, and I suppose for young people who are looking to validate their ideas for change, actually helping them really think through their ideas, do the planning, do the research, and do each of these things. They can actually learn how to do some of these stages in a much more in-depth way than they would otherwise do, and actually learn some of these skills that earlier on that they can then be, which is preparing them for their future world of work. So I suppose for me, it's almost like they're actually going to be able to maybe access and learn some of these skills and go deeper in their projects. And we also saw it where a group of educators in about 90 minutes came up with a new brand for a school, its vision, its values, iterated it, and then designed it and came up with staffing structures and project plans. And we did all of that in 90 minutes. So it could be quite incredible what young people could achieve in terms of their projects if they're equipped or coached and supported to learn around how to do prompts that can help them almost get some remarkable outcomes.
Yeah, yeah. The tricky part, and this is a slippery slope, is that as educators, we don't then become the prompt factory, where kids are learning the set prompts to use, or these are the best prompts to get to the best outcomes to, get to whatever your end goal is. We do need to, encourage kids to play with prompts. And when they don't get a result that they, found helpful, to go back and revise that prompt or revise that input. It's, the quality of the input will determine the quality of the output. So, but we also can't be in a situation where it's all about the prompts and we start teaching prompts.
I agree. And I think it goes back a bit earlier when we were talking about it's about the playing and learning and seeing what the output is, and then revisiting that. I suppose that whole learning cycle of almost going around to learning, iterating, seeing what the output is, and then using that to kind of input into your next stage or next iteration. And I suppose with this, we're sort of moving into that sort of next phase of for educators that might be hesitant or unsure about integrating AI into either their teaching methods or letting their young people have access to these tools within the classroom, within their projects. What would be your advice to them?
So firstly, you got to just get onto it. You just have to take some small bit, whether it's writing a lesson plan or take something you don't like to do and try it in the system. I hear from educators often, I just don't have time for something new. I'm already at breaking point. Please, nothing more. I have my syllabuses. I have my exam board materials. Nothing more. And just put that aside and jump in. And then now, I mean, from when we started in January, there was just 2 systems, but now there's so many more systems that actually provide kind of a front space to help you as a teacher shape what it is that you want to get to. I just came across a platform that actually said design projects for your students. And so it had already all of the key elements of a good project, and you just had to put in what the content was, like what standard. So I copied a California Common Core standard, and what theme and what age, and presto, in like 10 seconds, it produced a viable project. Or it produced something that I could then take and ask it to redo and it to iterate with it. And then now I have my plan for the students for the next 2 months, done in less than 30 seconds. So I can't encourage teachers more to just jump in. I know that there's concerns around data. I know there's concerns around it, the ethical practices and so forth. And if you're not putting in personal information. So this is part of what we teach both our teachers and our students. You don't put in personal information. You don't put in your exact location. You don't put in definitely no birth dates or ethnicities or any of that. You're talking about planning. You're talking about designing assessments. You're talking about things that don't need any of that personal stuff. So as long as it's what you are needing to do as a professional, then I know that OpenAI and all the data mines are having a field day to see what people are doing with it, and that's great for them. But how does it help you? And it does. It can. And so, gone are the days of spending your summer vacation doing your planning. So I just please jump in. And you'll find that it could be an amazing space to be.
Thank you, Mara. And I think, we really do need to create that space for teachers to be able to rest and to be able to maximize their time and impact. And I suppose that's the thing, is almost, it's not about you not being involved in the process. And they're using this term human in the loop, but I think it's much more than that. I think it's the human added value that you reviewing and giving feedback back to what you get, and then creating it, and then bringing it to life in the classroom, and that's what's needed. Is that you bring it to life and give it.
I mean, just thinking in a quick example of the more traditional systems of assessments and essays. If you had all of your students submit an assignment and it be reviewed first by AI for feedback, and then they all then rewrite their assignment, and then you get to look at it, wow, you're looking at the quality, as compared to the initial drafts that went in. And students then get immediate feedback that could never be possible in the past. So it's a way to go deeper, go further, and much faster.
Yeah. And I've also seen it where teachers are using it to almost challenge their young people to do so much more. So then we're saying, right, I want you to do stage 1 in this, then submit it, get your feedback, and then implement that feedback, and then do this and this, and seeing the sort of the journey, therefore the learning and the impact that they can have. But I suppose the next concern, I think, obviously for schools and for teachers, is what do parents think, and how do you manage their concerns, and how are you navigating that, Mara?
Yeah. So for us, we do have an AI policy as a school that actually ChatGPT helped me write. And so we shared that policy with the parents, with the teachers, with the students, got them all to sign on board. And in that policy, it gives, first of all, an explanation for what role AI plays. It's not a substitute for the teacher. It's not a substitute for the learner, and it certainly isn't a substitute for the parent. It's now a fourth entity that is, available. So that's one thing that I thought was really interesting about the policy, is as compared to previous policies, this one kind of gives you a premise, and then it sets out what are the expectations, and then what are the ethics around the expectations. And it's more about the forward thinking than the consequences. So I don't have consequences in the policy. Instead, it's more about this is what we expect students to do. This is how we expect them to use the tool, and what we want them to be mindful of. And if you don't, then that's a conversation. So for parents, I think when they saw that, they were like, "Oh wait, yeah, we need to think about this. We need to think about how we can arm our child with all of the newest tools so that they are prepared for their future." And AI is very much part of the present and definitely for future. So parents understood that. Like they realized that we can't say no, we have to embrace it. But how do you embrace it is really important. And so, keeping in mind the play, keeping in mind the iteration and the modeling for students and parents, I think that it's been adapted well.
Fantastic, and that's great to hear. And I think getting out there up front, where you create the policy first, engage the parents, and then implement the use is sort of important steps. And I suppose I just wanted to check, and I think the bit that we talked about as well is we know young people are using some of these tools outside the classroom and using them. So it is actually the imperative, it seems, that we get ahead or catch up and help both parents and young people understand how they use these tools in a safe way. And I suppose I just wanted to specifically ask, you've shared a little bit already, but any top tips for data privacy and security when using these kinds of tools?
Well, we do have our school filters on. So, for the internet, that still is in place. So for students using this system or the tools on our school computers, it's something that we can track and it's our school computer, so it's all under our umbrella. The tricky part is when they're using the tools when it's not, within your domain. And that's why I think it's absolutely so important that, teaching the students the ethics behind it, and how to engage with it so that you are protected as you would for any other social media tool, is really important. So we haven't gone so far as, any specific additional filters for the AI piece, because again, we're confident that we don't have the personal data going into it. But we are, wanting kids to be safe when they're not on our systems. And so I haven't done research yet for parents as to what are some of those systems that can be maybe more protective. So that is maybe an area I need to look at for them.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's over this next phase as things develop, engaging with parents, I think is going to be critical in kind of learning both the positives and the negatives, and trying to find that out as early as possible so that we can manage it together. I mean, I think what we're hearing is if used well, like there is the potential for really personalized learning, great impact, and that young people can develop and go far and be prepared for their future world of work. And that's, I suppose, really exciting for those young people. But what about the young people that maybe don't have access to these tools and actually aren't getting this kind of educational support? And I suppose I just wanted to kind of check with you your thoughts about how do we, or any ideas for how we ensure that young people from diverse backgrounds have equitable access to AI tools and resources.
I mean, I think it kind of goes hand in hand with the UN human rights to access to the internet. And it is imperative that all people have this access, so that we have a more level playing field. And so that's something I think as a society we need to continue to work towards, making the Wi-Fi, the data, all of that accessible and viable. The AI tools, I know that they're doing their part, because obviously it's to their benefit to have it on, phone apps and readily accessible via cellular data. So, I mean, on the one hand, that's really great. On the other hand, it's important that students and educators are aware of having that app available, and again, how to use it, how to maximize your connection with it is really important. But yeah, access to the internet is a human right. So with that would then come access to AI from my perspective.
Great, thank you. And I suppose my last big question, and this one is sort of setting the scene for where you see the future of education, and I suppose what role do you see AI playing in that? And I suppose especially in the context of, the global challenges we face, and the use of, we hope more schools embracing project-based learning. I suppose any sort of final sort of thoughts on where you see this might go and the possibilities.
Absolutely. So in the given context, I could see the program like Global Social Leaders and others becoming the curriculum, becoming the center stage. This is what is pulling in our students and engaging them in real life learning. And the exams and the all of the past traditional education pathways hopefully will slowly start to dissipate, because AI is proving that we need to be iterative. We need to be able to think for ourselves. But now with those tools, we don't have to regurgitate information. And what we need is how we can be adaptable, persevere, and really tackle the problems in front of us. Sitting in 32-degree weather in the UK and the autumn time is clearly an indicator that we need these at center stage. And so putting project-based learning at center stage and changing what our schooling looks like, AI can play a huge tool in that, and make it accessible to many more students than just those that have sought a different way. So yeah, I can see global social leaders coming up into the world.
Wow, thank you very much, Mara. I, for one, think that's a very exciting vision for the future and the future of education. And I agree. I truly believe that challenging young people and supporting them to do projects that are tackling some of our real world projects will make a real difference to our communities, on young people and their well-being, and realizing that they can come up with ideas and make those happen. Does help sort of them tackle some of the well-being challenges that young people face today, where they're worried and concerned about everything going on. Actually helping equip them with the tools that they need to tackle some of the challenges they see out there and see the impact they have, and see that through. That will prepare them better for a world that does look like it's going to be challenging. But I think if we can come up with new ideas and work together, then we can create a brighter future. And I think that's the aim. So I want to thank you, Mara, for joining us today, for your support for Global Social Leaders, and super excited for your school to be able to be involved as a GSL member this year, and to see how they get on with their projects, and how your educators and young people get on with maybe using some AI to help them with their projects. And that's something that we're going to be doing a spotlight on this year. We're going to be asking our students and educators, have they used AI? How have they used it? How has it helped? And together, I think we all just need to, if we use these tools, and we're not saying everyone should, we want to know when they do and what they see the impact to be, both positive and negative, so that we can all learn together, and then use that learning to shape how we approach this in the years to come. So we do hope this session has been useful to all our educators and young people that have tuned in for this. And please do share it with others. We're making this openly accessible because we do want this learning to be available to as many educators to be able to support their young people, whether or not they're participating in GSL, but in any project that they're doing, that we see that AI can really help to support that learning in the future. So final thank you, Mara, and
Thank you. Great. Bye.